Hey everybody, Bill in Virginia. Welcome back to another episode of Model Railroading Adventures with Bill. So what I'm showing you right now, besides some assorted just junk for storage in the garage, is a variety of O&30 as well as some O scale equipment that I've got up above the hanging cabinets, just kind of waiting for a home. See the forests that I had been working on before and shortly after I had my back surgery. So I've got a lot of stuff, I just need a place for it. And I'm getting started on that. And we'll talk a little bit more about what that's going to look like here in a minute. But first, on the several trips that I made to Iowa recently, both for my mother and then with my sister's passing, did go to my favorite hobby shop, which is Caboose Stop Hobbies in Cedar Falls, Iowa. And again, you know, if anybody's ever going to Iowa and you're up in the Cedar Falls area, you have to stop in to this hobby shop. They have everything. All you need to do is ask them, and there's a real good chance they've got it. But they had just recently bought out another hobby shop, and I don't know where, I didn't ask. But they had a large assortment of freight cars for sale. So what I'm going to show you here cost me $6 a freight car. Various manufacturers, you know, from, I think I've got some Atlas in here, I've got some, Blue Box, got AccuRail. Just a wide assortment of cars. So everything right of the Swift car I had just picked up and brought back on the various trips that I've had. Some of them have been weathered. They came from the hobby shop owner's private layout, if I'm remembering right. So nice assortment of box cars. And they had a whole bunch of other freight car types as well. But I needed box cars for my HO scale layout. I got a little bit of Pennsylvania. I got some older equipment, just some pretty cool stuff. And then upstairs in my office, I also have a number of Rock Island Railroad freight cars. Some older and some newer that I also purchased just for display up there. Because I grew up next to a Rock Island branch line, and you know what, there's always a soft place in my heart for the Rock Island Railroad. So I thought this was pretty good. $6 a pop, a couple of different trips. I was able to bring them back in my suitcases for checked luggage, made it easy. And I've got a bunch of new equipment on the railroad. A little bit of adjustments are needed on some of the KD couplers. But I'll get to that as I start running these around the layout, once I get the layout put back together and plugged in. When I was at Caboose Stop Hobbies, I also picked up a few O-scale kits. Some various things that they had up there. Now this down here is a pretty interesting one. It's a Plaster Truss bridge kit in HO scale. I don't know if everything's there, but it was $4.50, and I've got a ton of plastic parts, beams, girders, different things that I can use for a variety of model building at some point in the future. Didn't think I could pass that one up, so I got that one. In addition to the HO scale kit, I picked up a few O scale items here, just to start giving myself some practice building in O scale. I picked up a Railway Design Associates 3-in-1 trackside kit series. It's $30, but I really like the Rail Design Associates kits. This one is all plastic and really done well. So I'm gonna have fun putting that together, sort of like some of the HO scale kits that I did. I've also got here Crossing Shanties, an O-scale water tower kit, and then an old church with chimes OS gauge. This one was meant for like a Christmas kit. It's got a little music maker inside of it, so that you can play Christmas music in it for a display. I'm going to put this together at some point here and see how it looks. It should be kind of fun. So I've got a lot of stuff to keep me out of mischief. One other thing over on this side is I did get some trays that work perfect on my shelves just to kind of keep my paints organized a little better and actually to make them a little bit safer. So all I need really is the front lip on the shelf and then the trays. They're like from Home Depot or Lowe's. I think they're like $7 a piece because they're for like refrigerator or drawer usage. So occasionally I'll pick up one or two just kind of add additional storage for different things as I move forward here. All right, let's take a look at what I'm starting to work on now. So over here on this workstation, I am starting to draft my track plans, or at least some of my basic ideas for how the ON30 is going to look. Now you will note that the track that I've got here is Atlas 2-rail O scale. I am planning on having an O scale train being able to run on what I come up with as well. You know, just a little bit of a background again. What I'm wanting to build is a show layout. So not one that I'm necessarily going to be doing a tremendous amount of operations on. You know, in that way, it's going to be more like the end scale layout that I have where I can get it running and I can sit back and I can enjoy the fruits of my labor. But on the layout that I'm going to build, what I'm thinking, I'll kind of show here sort of some rough sketches, is it's going to be sort of a dog bone shaped layout, kind of like what we've got down here, which a 4x4 module, 4x4 module, 2.5 by let's see, 6 foot module here. Again, like the HO scale, it'll be able to be broken apart at the two different areas, all on casters, all portable. So what I'm going to do is at the top of the bench work on this area here is where I'm going to have the O scale, and it's going to be basically a folded dog bone kind of going through, running across, only visible from a roughly here through this curve. The rest of it's going to be hidden, but it's going to be accessible from underneath on both of these. In fact, I'm going to make it where I can sit on my little shop stool and kind of scoot underneath the layout here and underneath the layout here and literally stick my head up into what are going to be mountains. Here it'll be open where I can get access if I need it, but I'm not going to be able to scoot like I was doing. So that's going to be my level 0. You know, just it's going to be up on foam board. It's going to be, elevated just ever so slightly above the bench work. From this tick mark to about this tick mark, the bench work is going to be dropped about 8 to 10 inches lower. So, sort of a step down, going across the corner and then back up. This will allow for hilly terrain and more scenery where this particular part of the O gauge rails run, including trestle in here, probably another small curved trestle in here, but then embankments going up in elevation. So that I can see some of the O scale trains running here. And in fact, I'm going to tie it in to my other two layouts where it's going to be a Pennsylvania train running on this track so that I can have my imaginary tie-ins with my HO scale and then with my N scale. So I will get some freight cars that match up on all three layouts so I can just have some fun doing that. So anyway, that's kind of how that's going to look. Up here is sort of and it's really a very rough diagram of what I want to do for the ON30. So just using this as a starting point, this is 0 elevation for the ON30, which is going to be, and you notice this is indented, so this is going to be running straight across. This was just a first diagram. This will be roughly 5-6 inches above the O scale elevation for my baseline for here. Then it's going to go around and it's going to do 2 loops, kind of tightening up as it goes so that I'm not going over my tracks except for where it goes through here. Then it'll be a crossover so that I'm not having a lot of like logging lines in the mountains. They're going to be on the sides of the mountains. You know, you don't see a lot of logging lines that have went to the expense of blasting tunnels. You know, they'll do cuts, they'll do some fills, they'll do lots of little trestles and bridges. So I'm going to do that, bring it over here, kind of do a crossover. Then there's going to be, again, a couple of loops over here, which will bring it back down to that 0 elevation, and then run it back over to the starting point. From here, it will go under the elevated line via a trestle. There'll be a gorge, you know, stream kind of coming off through here. A lot of tumbled rocks and different things with the feature and, you know, depth changes. This will go up at least 6 inches or more in the spirals to get good clearance. Then through here, there will be an elevated ridge, similar to what I did on the end scale layout to kind of divide. Now, this sort of Y structure here and over here, I'm probably going to have like a thin masonite divider, and then with like a Y coming off with it kind of going down into a soft curve that I can hide behind lots of tall trees. So I can make it look blended, but I like the blue sky so that you can just kind of not see everything all at the same time. You actually have to walk around the layout to see different features. Now I will see what I've got for track availability to run, you know, some spurs or maybe a double track coming across. You know, I'll play with that once I get some stuff in place just to see how it's going to look. But in here, this is going to be more mountains, maybe some logging camps up in the mountains, a lot of hills, a lot of slopes. This is going to give me an opportunity to just go scenic or scenery crazy on this particular one. And that's what I want. I want this one to just be loaded with trees, forests, gullies, ditches, you know, mud, you know, logging equipment, logged areas, virgin areas, just so that I can run trains and just, you know, again, I want to take it to a show or shows and, you know, just have some fun with it. So this is how the initial thought process is for how I do my layout planning. I don't spend a lot of time. I honestly just kind of put down what I want for my major points, and then as I'm building, I go from there. You know, it doesn't work for everybody, but that's just how I do it, and I seem to have reasonable success with what I end up with. So we'll see. The next thing I need to do is I need to go and I want to get a couple of pieces of pink foam board. I've got some material so I can start doing some of this, but I want to establish what my elevation is for you know, the bench work. The piece of paper that I'd done all of my doodles on before I redid my work areas here in the garage, I've lost. So a lot of scratch and notes that I'd already created have disappeared. And I'm sure it's buried somewhere, I just don't know where. But anyway, that's where we're at. So we'll see what kind of mischief I can get in here moving forward. So I think that's going to be it for today. I've rambled long enough. The next one should show me having a little bit more progress here. So take care and keep having fun with your layouts.